So, for our first review of the day, it is going to be for the American Society of Magical Negroes, as this movie is. What is this movie about? So you have a group of it's magical Negroes in it. They do some magical stuff in it. The movie is kind of a commentary on the trope and stereotype that happen in Hollywood films. There, it still kind of somewhat happens today, not as much as it used to, but it's talking about the movie trope of the mystical, magical Negro that shows up in movies. The character that's the best friend to the white character and things, that offers advice and wisdom and consultation. They're not even really that much of a character themselves. They're only there to assist the white character in their troubles and their problems. And the movie does reference other films that have also the trope of the magical mystical Negro. For example, they do have the Green Mile. They do make fun of that, which was the movie starring Michael Clark Duncan. It was based on the Stephen King novel, and Stephen King, he would include that sometimes in his things. I'm about to bring up another actor, Morgan Freeman, who that was also another famous movie that also has that trope, which was Driving Miss Daisy. Which they also do make a reference to in this film as well. But that's basically what kind of the character is, and they even offer a definition of what the stereotype is at the beginning of the movie. They give a definite in case you don't know there. And a lot of people, looking back on it, you know, it became such a thing that got called out in Hollywood, like, they don't really do it as much, like, and I think I see it less and less. The last time I really seen it, the only thing that's coming to my mind is that show with Anna Taylor-Joy where she was playing chess, The Queen's Gambit, and, they tried to do the writer's trick, and it had the woman from, the Obi-Wan show in it. I'm blanking on her name at the moment, but the woman from the Obi-Wan show,
Mhm.
and they try to do the writing thing of trying to go like, well, if we say the thing in it, Moses Ingram was the actress. If we say the thing in it, well, we can avoid the stereotype. It's like, well, there's I think a line, if I remember correctly, in the show where she says, "Well, I'm not going to be your, magical, Negro friend or black friend here that helps." But it's like, oh, that's kind of still what you kind of are a little bit in the show. So they try to do kind of the writers thing there, trying to, if we reference it, it'll take all the venom and sting out of it. But yeah, so a lot of what the American Society of Magical Negroes does is kind of talk about that and talk about the society there of these group of people who have these magic abilities, who kind of consult these white people, come to them in their time of need. Because if they don't, then white people go crazy, and it's like, hey, every white person needs a good black friend to kind of help them through things. And leading up this, who's discovering about the society is Justice Smith. Justice Smith, who we've seen in kind of a variety of different things. We've seen him just recently. He was in the Dungeons and Dragons movie, just very recently. There,
Mhm.
he also, I think, he made his big break in the Netflix show, The Get Down. I think is where he made his big break in. He was also in the Pokemon movie, Detective Pikachu. He was also in that as well. And the person who's kind of leading him there, who's teaching him his ways, is comedic legend David Allen Greer. David Allen Greer, who people know in Living Color, legendary sketch show. He's been in things like, Boomerang. He's been in things like The Color Purple, just recently in the Color Purple movie, actually, just recently there. Really legendary actor. And he also was in They Clone Tyrone as well. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's what you kind of have here. You kind of have this character, Justice Smith, who befriends this white person there, trying to get into it's like, trying to integrate his way into society, into this of magical Negroes, and to try to find a way to a safe place to express himself and his blackness there in this world. So about this movie, yeah, I feel like this movie fails pretty much at every level of what it was attempting to try and do. Um, and if you want to see kind of, and there's three movies I'm about to reference here that do exactly what this movie's trying to do, but much better. And I think ultimately this movie feels like a long drawn out Key and Peele sketch that is really not that funny. And movies that I think that do this topic better, because what is this movie really trying to talk about? It's trying to talk about blackness, is trying to talk about code switching, is trying to talk about operating in a being black in an all white space. A movie that did that really excellently. Sorry to Bother You, the Boots Riley movie. this movie had the benefit of talking about code switching, which is now in common vernacular now of, like putting on a different voice in order to not seem so intimidating or scary, you know what I mean, with your other coworkers who may be white. And you see him kind of excel through the ranks, and also with the mix of like capitalism and everything like that. That's also kind of throwing their critiques of that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff with Boots Riley is his stuff is funny and it's very absurdist and weird and kind of crazy, and it works on a lot of those levels.
It also wasn't one note, it also had many other things to say, not just one thing.
Yes, it also, yeah, had, like I said, many other kind of things to say there as well. You also have, if you wanna have a movie that talks about blackness and, like, the awkwardness of maybe being around there, being, like, the only a black person, something like Get Out. That's what this movie did. Jordan Peele, who wrote and directed it, also very funny movie as well as being scary, as well as being really tightly written, you know what I mean, of being in the experience there, of the awkward kind of conversations that happen sometimes with the black guy, the weird kind of questions you may get asked, especially in interracial relationships. Uh, that kind of is brought here. If you want to kind of talk about another movie that just came out very recently about talking about blackness and how you're kind of operating and what does it mean to be black and the black experience. American Fiction, I think, did that very
Mhm.
brilliantly, which was this movie that came out last year. Very great movie starring Jeffrey Wright. This was written and directed by Cord Jefferson, talking about the experience of what is the black experience, what is blackness, what does that mean? Um, what are the various kind of different stories that black people are allowed to tell in a world there that they're not necessarily in charge of. So I thought that that handled it very well. But this, I mean, with American society, I think the biggest thing about this is just one, it's incredibly one note, like you said. It's not funny. I don't think I chuckled once through this whole thing. And it doesn't really work on any level there what it's attempting to try to say or do, that you can't get from those other 3 movies that I mentioned that excel at it way better. Yeah. What are some of your thoughts on, American Society there?
Uh, this whole premise was better in the Key and Peele sketch. It lasted 5 minutes. It was way funnier. It was not just, and it was also making fun of more than just the stereotype while also putting it on its nose. It actually used the stereotype to do something kind of funny and also didn't insult the same audience that at the same time. Wow, this movie was really hard to sit through in a lot of ways because often an unfunny movie is some of the worst viewings you can have because if you're not laughing, it's just a painful, awkward experience. But this, not only that, it also just offended. It was just very offensive in a lot of ways. And usually I don't care about kind of things like that, but it did. It, I didn't understand what the point of this was. There was a lot of animosity, feigned animosity in it, very with a polite veneer of saying, "No, I don't actually hate you, but I kind of actually do." All throughout this entire movie, and the all throughout the movie, I'm waiting for, okay, so what's the point of this movie? What's the lesson we're supposed to get at the end of this? And then when it comes to the ending, I was just going, well, great, you just made it worse for everybody. So your own premise kind of falls apart. And then what's revealed at the very, very end, I just shook my head and went, you fumbled the ball hard. This was just a bad idea. This was, I don't know how you're going to carry this out, but you needed a lot more people to work on this to make this right. This was written and directed by the same person. I believe it's Libby,
Mhm.
and they've done two other films: We Broke Up and The Hater.
Haven't seen any of those.
I haven't seen either of those, but this is the first movie that both writer, director, and producer on the same thing.
Mm.
They've also worked on television, Alpha House, Girls, a few other things, Kepler, uh, here and there. So this was going to be pretty big for them. I'm honestly shocked this movie got made, considering the premise.
Mm. Um, I'm not shocked it got made because, I mean, I
Hmm.
could see, maybe you're looking at the script, maybe you think like, "Okay, well, this could maybe be another American Fiction type thing, maybe it could be
Yeah.
another." Well, actually, this movie probably would have been this probably in production all the time when American Fiction already got put
Yeah.
out, but Maybe it could be like another Sorry to Bother You type thing or Get Out type situation where maybe it could be this funny kind of thing. And also talking about this trope that happened very much in Hollywood that people have also talked about. Like you said, something like that, Sorry to Bother You, which I thought was one of the best movies of the last 10 years there.
Mhm.
Because Boots Riley knows how to really do it and really kind of write that way. I don't know his other work, Kobe, Libby. I don't know what else, what I mean. I haven't seen his other work, so I don't. Maybe it's just a one off for him. But with this, it's just like, yeah. I mean, I see what you're trying to do here and trying to talk about this, especially. It's not really that dominant of a trope anymore. So it's like maybe if this movie was made later, maybe it would have been
Like
kind
20
of
years ago.
maybe 20 years ago, and that trope was still really heavy in
Yeah.
the pop culture
When Will
zeitgeist.
Smith was in Bagger Vance
Yeah,
and
you know,
stuff
when
like that.
when you had kinda stuff like that, maybe if it was a little bit more in the pop culture zeitgeist, maybe
Although we just saw the trailer for The Crow, and there appears to be a magical, mystical character telling the main character about their powers, and I thought we had long since put that to rest, but hey.
yeah. So I mean, so maybe it's just like the timing is like also not that current there at the time. Like I said, I don't think it really
Mhm.
happens as much in media. Um, and Justice Smith as a lead here, you know what he kind of the actor he really reminds me of?
What?
Uh, Jay Baruchel. I was like, he's like kind of like a black
Mm,
Jay Baruchel in the way that and if you watch enough Jay Baruchel movies, besides things like Blackberry, and I was glad for Blackberry because at least with Blackberry, Jay
yeah,
Baruchel was able to burst out and kind of show more dimensions to his acting ability than just like being just the shy, awkward, nervous guy. You know what I mean? Who
yeah,
is like through like most of the premises of his movies is he's the shy, awkward, nerdy guy who learns not to be the shy, awkward, nerdy guy
yeah.
and who gains confidence. And
He's
that's
very stereotyped in his own role. He's the voice of Hiccup as well from the How
yeah.
to Train Your Dragon series. He has this very nasally kind of voice, the way he talks.
Yeah, and even Justice Smith kinda has not a nasally voice, but it's kinda like this deep kind of voice, but it's kinda
Yeah,
like
meek, almost effeminate.
yeah, it's like, not very confident the way he speaks there, and I get that that's again, like, but if you watch Justice Smith, like, he also played the same character in Dungeons& and Dragons,
Yeah,
as
and he did
well,
it better.
yeah, and that was kinda a little bit better there, but that was just a better movie overall as
Oh
well.
yeah,
But, Jay Baruchel also kinda that was most of his career, things like How to Train Your Dragon, he plays the same character there, Sorcerer's Apprentice, he played the same character there, the nerdy
hmm
guy who's trying to gain
yeah, oh yeah,
confidence. And you saw that again in Justice Smith roles, like in Detective Pikachu, that was kinda his thing. He was the not so confident guy that had to kinda learn to gain confidence and figure out the case, and when he was in Jurassic Park: Fallen Kingdom,
oh
you
my
know,
god, he was the screaming guy.
he was the screaming guy, yeah, you know what I mean, running around screaming, scared of dinosaurs, he was one of the scientists helping Bryce Dallas Howard, in that movie. Um, yeah, so I think he kinda does a lot of the same kinda shtick there, and he's doing it a lot here. Um, David Allen Greer, like I said, comedy legend David Allen
hmm
Greer. I love David Allen Greer, a lot of stuff. Here, I don't he couldn't even really make me smirk, which is a shame because
I
he's
know.
really talented. He's a really funny
He's
guy.
insanely talented. I first saw him in the movie way back from Jumanji. Way back when he plays supporting character in Jumanji. I've seen him in many other things. And actually, a show that you probably don't even remember anymore. I used to watch his for as limited as it was on Chocolate News
It's
way
funny you
back when.
mentioned that. When I think Hunter mentioned that when we were talking about the Oscars. He brought up that show. I brought up a clip from that show. Yeah, Chocolate News. I brought up a clip from that, and we were talking about that. Yeah, and I saw a clip from. I haven't seen the show, but Hunter, we watched that clip, and that was funny. I thought that was kind of really good and really
Yeah,
funny.
it's a shame that that series it didn't last long. I think it only had like 10 episodes. I saw it in its very first limited time, but I used to watch it. It was funny.
Yeah. You also have Nicole Breyer in here, who I've seen in some other stuff. I think I've seen her mostly in some things here and there. Like she's been on like Girl Code and things like that. And she's okay. I think she can be kind of funny at times. But yeah, it just I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think when people saw this and kind of saw the concept for it, they were like, I actually wanted black people to be doing like more magic stuff and, people compared this to like, are we getting kind of a black Harry Potter with this? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you're not really
No.
getting a black Harry Potter with this. Which is like I said, a kind of shame
That would have
there,
been better. This would
you
have been
know.
way better if it was actually that.
No, you're not getting that. Again, delving into the history of, maybe magic on that side there, and just in terms of how the magic works in this kind of universe. Like, I understand, like, you don't have to explain every little detail, but it's like he all of a sudden, Justice Smith as a character just learns how things work. All of a sudden, just being there, like he can teleport, he can do these things, and it's like, how did he learn how to do that? Like at least in something like Harry Potter, they don't explain the magic all the way down to the most minute detail, but at least it's like, okay, hey, there's spells, and you say these spells, and you do this thing, and then that this thing will happen. But
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, it's just like he could just make things appear, or he can just teleport, and like nobody else sees it around, or you know what I mean? It's like what I don't understand that. Yeah, and the romance in this movie is also a romance that kind of comes. I forgot to mention that. I don't know. I don't really feel the
I mean,
connection that much between
I
them.
mean, the movie forgets about it, even though it's a big part of it. It kind of, yeah, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
None of this works.
Yeah.
This should have been a Blazing Saddles level of comedy. This should have been something we don't get anymore, where everyone gets made fun of. Everybody has a dumb society that they all, and everything is full of stereotypes, and we all make fun of each other, and it's meant to be all in jest because deep is like because hey, even though we have differences, we all have dumb things, dumb tropes, but that doesn't make us who we are. It could have been a heartwarming, funny is it funny with
uh,
some funny movie with some damn teeth. And this is the most loose. This is like if you took the teeth out of an alligator and they
mm.
still had to try to perform at a zoo.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good comparison there, because yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I'm bringing up Boots Riders, I don't wanna keep going back to it, but, like, it works because it's so like, something like Sorry About It and even I'm a Virgo works because it's so crazy and so absurdist and so surreal. They have this world that's crafted and the things that kinda happen in it.
Shit, Atlanta did 4 seasons of this.
Atlanta is another good example of that, of the weird shit that Atlanta would do, and I feel like it's struggling. It's like, okay, do you wanna tell, like, a legitimate story of, like, a black person operating in a space there of, like, not feeling they can express themselves there, or do you wanna tell a all and out comedy and kinda go crazy with it? I
Yeah,
feel like you
gotta
shoulda just
pick
gone
one.
you shoulda gone the all and out, let's just do crazy shit. Like I said, everybody belongs to us, and then you see that even another person at the very end of the movie belongs to, like, another society there that you see. But like I said, that would've been a good, like, what if everybody had a society,
That's what I'm saying.
you
Make
know?
everybody a part of a different society, and that unbeknownst to and it's secret to everybody else. Nobody knows that everyone else, and they think they're the only ones with the secret society. That's funny.
Yeah. That coulda worked there if you kinda had that there. Yeah, I think it's like the first draft. It's like, okay, we got kind of a good concept here, but we don't really know what to do with it. And we don't know how to handle it. And uh, you know, yeah. I mean, we just had I just saw Dune 2 and I was like, "Hey man, cinema back. I'm
Yeah.
feeling good." And then
Back, baby.
this just seeing this deflated the fuck out of me. I was like, "Ah, shit." I was like, "Oh my god." I already put this on my early worst stuff of the year
Oh,
list.
yeah.
This just
We've had, like,
really
3 worst stuff already.
yeah, I got 6 actually. I looked at my litter box. I
Oh,
got
shit,
6.
really? I need to relook at mine.
Yeah. It's like I said, this doesn't work on any level. It's not funny. It's could have a funny concept if stuff you can do with it. If you had like a Jordan Peele or like a Cord Jefferson come along and really do it, or the creators of the Boondocks, like if they maybe came
Mm.
along and had this kind of concept, or Donald Glover, maybe you could have done something. And I feel like, it's trying to catch on that wave of like, okay, you know what I mean? Let's talk about, blackness and let's have a funny thing about it. And it kind of misses the mark heavily with it. And yeah, because this is something that really does happen, and that is could be relatable, and you could touch on it in a funny manner. But the way it's kind of done is just so lame.
It's not only lame, it's also mean-spirited.
Mm, yeah.
Because the way because also you look at it in a weird way, it's basically saying, especially with what happens in the end, one character basically ruins the lives of other people who've been living in this like weird fear most of their life. This weird fear of, oh, well, if we don't have this, then suddenly things are going to go bad. And it basically requires the rest of the world, or at least a very specific demographic of the world, to basically be basically oblivious monsters who just have no understanding of anyone else or interpersonality skills to recognize that someone else is going through this, or at least is unwilling to even understand. And that's very mean spirited and very, and the movie doesn't view it like that. They just view it, no, no, that's just, that's just what it is. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's not how it goes. That's not funny. That has nothing to do with it. It's just so one note. I just, yeah, this felt like a one note draft. It's a concept, and it's like, oh, okay, so we're gonna need a couple more drafts to really put in jokes and make this world actually function and work, and this concept. And they're like, no, we're done.
Yeah. And you gotta think about also the position of, because the way this kinda
Yeah,
works is if one person messes up, that ruins the whole magic for all
yeah,
the people in this. So it's like you have this whole group of like, so if one person, and I get, like, I get what it's trying to say with that, of like black people are seen as a monolith there, and it's like if one black person does something, it reflects badly on the whole demographic of group of people. Know it shouldn't be that way. I get what it's
yeah,
saying there, but it's just kind of weird there that the way it kind of works there, and also like the positions that these black people. It's like a lot of like butlers and maids and everything like that. It's like you got magical powers and you're a butler and a maid and you're still
yeah.
doing it's like wait,
Like, you have
what?
magical powers. What are you doing?
You know what I mean? Like,
Why
and you're
it could that you know what would be funny? That's the like, oh no, but I have like, if this was a funnier movie and everyone had different, they're all part of different societies. It was a, oh, I have this, but then my side gig is, I have like a side gig, because I have magic. I
I
can just make things happen.
I can make things appear out of thin air. Like,
Yeah.
you
Or
know,
like, why wasn't it like, as it could have been a joke? The Key and Peele sketch had like a cartoon animal just kind of like showing up and be like, why weren't there other people who being like, is that no? Don't worry about that. You're high off shit right now. You don't know what you're seeing.
yeah. I have the Key and Peele skit right here.
Oh, so much funnier.
Let me play a little bit of it here. I don't want to get in trouble. Let me play just a little bit.
So we can start over. Here to fix the copier.
Yeah, sure. Hey, how did you?
Sometimes things ain't really broken. It's the way we treat them that needs to be fixed.
See, this is funnier than the entire movie.
Who the hell are you guys?
The important question is, who are you, Steve?
See that this is a almost 4 minute sketch here. This is way funnier. This is
Mhm.
it hits the concept, it does it well. And this
It
came
doesn't.
out
Yeah,
4 years ago too.
it doesn't insult the person. Like, Steve is rightfully confused. Like, just an average person. They're like, wait, what's happening? Like, what's going on?
Mm,
That's funny.
yeah. Um, yeah. So for this, I mean, if I had to give it a rating, I I think I'm waffling between maybe a waste of fucking film and maybe a burn it. Uh, I'm trying to think of anything I liked about it to give it, maybe a
Mm,
burn it instead of a waste of fucking film.
I
I
mean,
I thought David Allen Greer was okay. I thought he was alright in it. I
yeah,
mean, I think he could have been better, but I think the material isn't there for him.
no.
But
He would have probably written something better.
yeah, I gotta give it a waste of fucking film. I'm sorry. I
No,
gotta
there's no
do that.
shame in that, brother. There's no shame in
Uh,
that.
so what are you giving it? Final thoughts, rate.
Uh, I was like you, floundering between a burn it, waste of fucking film, and then I thought about it more, and I could not forgive myself if I ever said anything uh, involving black people and burning. So this is a waste of fucking film,
Yeah.
and it deserves it. It just fails on pretty much every level, and on our scale, it's a waste of film. I ain't gonna remember this. Well, actually, I am gonna remember this. I'm gonna remember this at the end of the year because I just put it on my list of worst.
Yeah. And it's a shame. I mean, because we just had a great movie detailing a lot of the Black experience. Like I said, I mentioned
Yeah.
it, American Fiction. I mean,
Yeah.
this movie does it excellently, does it perfectly, in this, and does so well at tackling all these different. It's so smartly written, and this is just like fuck. It's like, oh
This
my god,
this felt like the novel that he would have jokingly written that wasn't working, and then people like, "We love it. Make more of this."
yeah. Actually, that's actually I did tweet that out. I was like, this feels like a fictional movie in the American Fiction
American Fiction,
universe.
exactly. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I was like, this is the thing that they would be making fun of in this universe. Yeah.
This is a movie you play when you want someone to leave your bar. All right, I'm gonna start playing this now. Get the hell out of my house.
Uh, yeah. So 2 waste of fucking films for American society there.
Deserves it.
Yeah.